What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick. Not a god roll, but pretty damn good. Kackis here. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel, and let me know what you think my next intro should be. That comment section is absolutely wild. Alright, today we have the easy guide for the Hollowed Lair Grandmaster Nightfall. This just became available today, and this is the first time ever this strike has actually been a Grandmaster Nightfall. In this video, we're going to be showcasing some loadouts and some tips to give you the highest chance of success. That's what we're focusing on today, not speedrunning strats that end in disaster half the time. So, what are some loadouts you should consider using? Well, firstly, I played a Warlock, and guys, Stasis is absolutely the play here because there is a ton of ad density, and Stasis is really good at dealing with that. So taking a look at what I'm using with my subclass, firstly, in terms of the aspects, I have Glacial Harvest. Now this is going to produce Stasis Shards. We'll get into why in a sec. And then Bleak Watcher. Bleak Watcher is unbelievable, being able to yeet out those grenades and freeze so many ads. Then we've got Whisper of Conduction to track shards to us. We've got Whisper of Torment to get more grenade energy. Then we've got Whisper of Chains for more damage resistance when near frozen targets. And lastly, Whisper of Rhyme. We are going to be collecting a lot of shards, and this gives us an overshield for doing so. Now, in terms of the weapons, the one I actually ended up on is going to be the Augur's Scepter. Now, with the Catalyst as well, however, I don't think that's necessarily required, but this worked really well at ad clearing, especially when you combine more stasis synergies we're going to go over in a sec. We've got a bow for Overload Bow, we've got the Threaded Needle for unstoppable linear fusion rifles, and then the helmet is actually going to be the Verity's Brow. This gives you death throws, which gives you grenade damage bonus and more grenade energy when you're getting kills with a weapon that matches your subclass, so the Aegers. Then we also have Font of Might. That's going to boost the damage of the Aegers because we have elemental shards. This is the piece de resistance of this build, and what it does is it turns all of those shards into elemental wells, so that's going to give you a Font of Might all the time. And we're also using a Well of Potency from the seasonal artifact, and so this makes those shards, which count as wells, also give you extra super energy. So I'm getting my super quite a bit within this Grandmaster. And another great choice here is Resonance Siphon. You gain stasis ability energy whenever you or a teammate stuns a champion. There's a lot of champions, there's going to be a lot of stunning, so getting a huge chunk of ability energy whenever you do that is great. And I also did have room for particle deconstruction because of the Threaded Needle, however, it wasn't necessarily required. Now I'm actually going to give you guys an alternative build here, something that also worked very well, just a little bit worse than the Aegers, but it was actually better at dealing with champions and higher tier enemies, and that actually revolved around the Lorentz Driver. So I'm using a bow again, then I've got the Lorentz Driver here, and this was absolutely fantastic at dealing with ads. You get one headshot and the entire proximity of ads just all drags to the center, and you kill or almost kill all of those ads. So this was really effective, and then I'm running a Threaded Needle as well, so I can just run Linear Fusion Finder and a Linear Fusion Scavenger, and I'm getting ammo for both of these things. Really liked it, but because we're not using a stasis weapon, we're using Eye of Another World as our exotic for just more ability, regen, and uses overall. And because we're not using the Scepter, we don't need Font of Might, so we're actually using Protective Light, and then we get to use the Elemental Charge mod, and so all of those shards I'm getting charge me ×2 every single time, so you're activating Protective Light quite a bit. It has like almost a 100% uptime, a huge degree of survivability. Now taking a look at some of the builds my teammates were using that were very, very effective, we have a Hunter here. It's actually going to be Way of the Trapper, and that was very effective. The weaponry is going to be a grenade launcher with blinding grenades. The Vex Mythoclast, if you have access to this, guys, it is amazing. You use Fusion Rifle Unstoppable rounds, so it's going to stun unstopped champs all the time so consistently. You use Particle Deconstruction, so it can take on even yellow bars, no problem, and it just decimates the normal red bars. Very, very effective. And then a Reed's Regret. There isn't actually a ton of shields in this Nightfall, so using this stasis weapon isn't too much of a downside, and getting the bonus of triple tap to get your ammo back is very, very good. Now, in terms of the exotic, Orpheus rig. So like I said, ton of enemy density. So being able to shoot your bow, trap a ton of enemies, especially in that final boss room, and then get 50% of your bow back, it just really gives you a ton of extra super usages, and you will see getting bows being used quite a bit in the background gameplay, so this was pretty darn effective. Moving on from there, the last class I'm going to recommend here for the Titan. I hate to be a slave to the meta, I know this is really common, but it's gotta be a Code of the Commander Ursa Furiosa Titan. This was so darn good for us. The weaponry, firstly we have a Wither Horde. This is going to be really good at clearing out adds, especially the way that Scorns spawn in. You can see exactly where they're spawning, so you can hit a Wither Horde shot right there, and then they spawn into the Wither Horde and pretty much always die. We're using a bow again because of that bow overload champion round. And then lastly, Hezen Vengeance. Just a very powerful rocket launcher here is going to be great, especially on the boss when you need to do a chunk of damage very quickly. And then like I said, in terms of the armor, we do have that Ursa Furiosa, which is going to let you get super energy back when you're guarding with that middle tree, a sentinel, and this was very good. There's a lot of scenarios where you need to kill an unstopped champion, you need to kill, the boss, you need to get a revive, and being able to pop this and be in that defensible position was really, really good, especially because with the Scorn, usually unstopped champions, they come to you, but with the Scorn, they can shoot you from across the map, so you do often find yourself like shooting them with linears or whatever from across the map and being able to Ursa and deal with a couple of unstops really quickly because of that damage bonus and have protection. Very, very good. Okay, now let's talk about some really efficient tips for this strike specifically. First and foremost, watch out for the mini screebs. They can spawn when you kill a stalker and they'll just charge right at you. They can sometimes be hard to see, so just play a little bit further back and definitely keep your eyes peeled for those, and don't stand too close together with other teammates because you don't want one to wipe your entire team. Moving on from there, another good tip here is when you move into this room here, and you're done with the plate, run over to the right side. There's kind of a room here that has a lot of cover. This is definitely the place to hold out here. And the walker can't get you from here. Now, speaking of that walker, definitely what you want to do is one phase it. And this is actually very possible if you do have particle deconstruction. As you can see, we went in here, our guy with the Vex Mythoclast got it up to ×5 pretty much immediately, and with just a few linear shots, we absolutely destroyed this thing. And this is going to eliminate a wave of enemies. If you don't kill this thing in one go, enemies will start to spawn again, so you'll have to retreat back to that right side room, kill them, and then have another go at this walker, so you definitely want to try to one phase it if possible. Moving on from there, when you get to this room here, you can definitely play really far back and only venture forward to activate the different counterweights, and once you see enemies spawn, simply run away, run back to the very back of the arena, as you can see us go, because when you actually do spawn that mini boss, if you're far enough back, as you can see, he actually is out of range for himself. Like, he actually can't shoot you, so you have pretty much free reign to whittle him down from back here. Moving on from there, you absolutely want to save some sort of ad clearing super for this bridge here, because not only is there going to be a massive swarm of ads, but there's also going to be 2 unstoppable champions. So one person, myself in the Shadebinder Warlock, dealt with all the ads pretty darn easily and then was able to take down the champions. But moving on from there, we have the boss room, and I have a lot of tips for you guys to make this easier. Firstly, arc resistance on your chest piece is a good idea for this encounter specifically. The boss summons the arc circles and shoots arc at you, and the unstoppable champions are going to shoot arc as well. However, to be honest, void damage resist is a pretty good idea as well. The Scorn grenades are void, and the sniper Scorn are void too, so either of those is definitely what you want to have for this strike overall. But certainly in the boss fight, one person having an arc resist is definitely going to help. Then make sure you are aware of where the ads spawn. So they're always going to start spawning on that right side. Once you clear them out, do some more stuff, then they're going to spawn on the left side. Then there's a big wave of stuff, and watching it back, they seem to then spawn on the left side and then move to the right side. Another wave, then they spawn the right side and move to the left side. So if you see them spawn somewhere, just be aware that you're going to have to deal with them. You're going to have to take those guys out, but then they're going to spawn on the opposite side one more time before the next kind of phase of this boss fight. And speaking of the next phase of the boss fight, you are going to have a ton of ads all spawning at once. So this is where stuff like that tether can really come into effect, and this is where the Aegir's Scepter pulled absolute amazing performance here. Like, you can see it absolutely wipe out massive groups of ads here, so definitely saving a little bit of ammo so you can do that is really, really important, but definitely need to be on top of these ads, play very far back, use all your supers and so on, because they are going to overwhelm you. Keep in mind, the second wave of those like big ads, the boss that normally spawns is like a mini boss, it's now going to be an unstoppable champion. So you will have one champion you're going to have to deal with. In the first wave, I think it's going to be an overload, and in the second wave, it's going to be an unstoppable. So just be aware of that. And then the other thing you're going to have to deal with in this boss fight is getting teleported. However, got a couple of tips for you guys for this. So actually, it turns out, and you'll see this in the background gameplay, if you hold backwards, so on PC, the S key, on controller, if you're just kind of walking backwards into a wall, as you get teleported, you go a lot slower, like significantly slower, and it means that you're unlikely going to get teleported all the way forward for him to stomp and kill you. So definitely, as soon as your screen starts to kind of wiggle and do that effect, start holding backwards. Another big tip: if you activate your roaming super, as you can see, as you're getting teleported, it will break you out of the teleport. So definitely timing that properly. Like you see in the background gameplay, there were some ads, but I waited just a little bit until I started to get teleported. Then I used my super, I broke out of the teleportation, so I'm completely safe there, and then I can start dealing with ads. So that's something that needs to be in the back of your mind as well. But also, you will need to break his shield and damage him very quickly to stop the teleportation as fast as possible. So very high burst DPS weapons are fantastic. That's why we are using a 1K Voices, and we are using a Hezen Vengeance, very powerful rocket with Vorpal. Those are going to shred through that shield and do a huge chunk of damage in a very short period of time. And so guys, there you have it. All in all, honestly not too bad, especially if you have someone like myself really leaning into stasis and using those ad clearing aspects that really got the ad density under control, and then having some powerful supers as well as exotics to get those supers back, to give you some energy back so you can use them very often. You're going to have supers up whenever you're doing those huge waves of ads in the boss fight. That is very, very important. And so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKackis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.